Today we're going to go in, guys, please stop. That's not a great way to restart our recording. Today what we're going to do is some decimal and fraction conversion. We gave you a really quick one to do fractions to decimals, but we didn't really go back the other way. So let's talk about this one today. And a lot of it has to do with understanding your place values. So if I have and we're going to add 1 to this, so add another blank and another line. Okay? So if we have a number like 3, 4, 5, and 6,791 ten thousandths, let's talk about our place values. We're going to start with the 5, because for me, this is where it all starts. So what is the place value of the 5? Ones. Okay? Connor, you should be writing this down. What is the place value of the 4? Xavier? The what?
The tens place. Oh, no, the tens place.
The tens place. Thank you. Yes, you should have added a TH there. What about the 6? Jaren?
6 is 10.
Tenths.
I was right.
No, you were wrong because you said that for the 4.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the 3 place? Elijah? Hundreds. What about the 7? Christian?
Thousands.
No. Helen? Hundreds. Are you starting to see a pattern?
Yeah, because past like that the dot is it's like a mirror. Hundreds just has like on the other side it's like hundreds but with the TH like the fraction.
Great. That's why I said the 5 is kind of this is basically a reflection point, guys. As I go up, those are exactly repeated going down. The only difference is I add that TH.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you ever are curious or can't remember exactly what decimal place you're in, go the other way, and that will tell you, because I think most of you know going past the hundreds, thousands, 10,000, 100,000. You guys know that, right? Okay? Most of you should know that up to at least 100 billion. Right after that's a trillion, which then goes to 100 trillion. Okay? So basically that's giving you a whole slew of numbers that you should know. All you have to do is flip it from the ones place and add a TH, and you have it. So that means that 9 is what place? Gunner? Thousandth. Thousandths. And then the 10,000ths. Okay, so you guys understand the pattern, right? Okay, we'll get to why that's really important in just a minute here. Any questions on your place values? Okay. Fraction review, real quick. The 1 is what we call, what's the mathematical term for it? Numerator. The 2 is what we call? Denominator. Everybody good so far? Okay. Now, let's talk about changing fractions to decimals to percents. We already did the decimal to percent, right? You guys remember our good friend Dr. Pepper? D2P, moving at 2 places. If I change decimal to percent, decimal to percent, I'm moving it to the right. Percent to decimal, I'm moving it to the left. But I always move it 2 times. Why? Percent means out of 100, not 2. Means out of 100. So because the percent means out of 100, if I'm changing from a decimal to percent, I'm moving my decimal 2 places. Now, fraction to decimal, we haven't given you any real good tips on that one yet. So let's talk about it a little bit more. We actually have a nice little song we're going to sing for you. And by we, I mean me. Because even when we did tape it before, Miss McShann wouldn't sing along on this one. It was just a little too strange for her. It's one of my favorites, though. Okay, the first part. Just as a quick side note, the reason we give you a tune on this, studies have actually shown if you guys have a song, you're more likely to remember it. Because think about, you guys know the lyrics to hundreds of songs by the time you're this age. So here's your lyrics, because we have to have the lyrics first, right? So first we're going to say it.
Say it, not spray it. We're not in music class.
After that, we're going to write it. Okay? Not yet. It's actually more of a screamo. And then we are going to simplify it. So, I told you this is a song, right? So here's our lyrics. The song's pretty easy. It's a nice catchy little tune. All it is to turn a fraction, a decimal, into a fraction. All you have to do is say it, write it, simplify it.
Yeah, Mr. Moore, I'm hiring you. $10 every day to be my alarm clock.
Okay, so you guys ready? Let's try this together. I'm gonna do my best Mr. Wall impression. I'll lead you guys. Let's go together. Everybody ready? Here we go. Say it, write it, simplify it. How you guys feeling on that, okay? Okay, we'll do it one more time for Karen. Guys, quiet down. We've got to be together on this. We need you too.
I don't want to say it though, because I'm on camera.
It's okay. You're only really hearing me on this one, especially on the simplify it. Yes?
I'm just gonna word it.
I told all you to quiet down.
Well, you're being really loud.
Not right now, I'm not.
My ears don't get it.
Okay, guys, ready? One more time. Say it, write it, simplify it. Okay. Now, let's put this to action. So if I give you a fraction, oh, shoot, one thing I forgot. Let's go back up here. Can someone actually say this number for me? Helen. The whole number. Hold on, guys. Give Helen a chance. Xavier. Helen? Awesome. She did exactly what I hoped. When you get to this decimal, this is not point. It is and. So mathematically, when we are reading a decimal notation like this, when I get to the decimal point, I don't say point, I say and. So it's the number before it and with the number after it. And is telling you in English, mathematically, I need to put a decimal point there. Make sense? Good. So coming back down to where we were. So our first example. How do I say this first one? Because that's our first step, is saying it. Xavier?
Say it like 0 and 5/10.
0 and 5/10. Once you have said it, you should now be able to write it. 0 and, what did I say? 5/10. Then we do my favorite part.
Write it.
Simplify it.
But it's right.
What can I simplify 5 and 10 by? Jaron? 5. Not 2, 5. So that gives me 1/2 as a fraction.
But it's already 1/2.
So you know that because that's a common one. And quite honestly, guys, most of these common ones, you should get down to where you know the fraction and decimal conversions and percent just off the top of your heads.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Now, example 2. Who can say this one for me? Jaron? 1 and 6/10. Now, here's a big key on this. If I have a number before the decimal, I don't worry about it. It's when I'm doing the fraction piece. All I'm going to do is the fraction piece into a decimal. So, the fraction piece of this was 6/10. So now I've said it. Now I write it. 6/10. And then I simplify it. What can I simplify 6 and 10 by? 2. So I divide both those by 2, gives me 3/5. Once I have the fraction, I can now put any whole numbers back with it. So now it becomes 1 and 3/5. That make sense?
What about write it?
That's when we wrote it right here. That's the 6/10 is writing it. Yes, Helen?
So we wrote it. I'm very pathetic because on example 1, it said 0.5
Right, and I said, when I do it, I can ignore whatever whole numbers there are, because that's not going to change between the decimal and fraction. That will be the same. So all I need to do is convert the fraction piece and then put whatever the whole number was back in front of the fraction. Okay? Okay, all right, example 3. Who can say that one for me? Go ahead, Christian. Good, 1 and 41 hundredths. So again, the whole number piece we can forget about till we come back to our fraction. So the 41 hundredths. Now we said it, we'll write it, 41 hundredths. Okay, simplify it. Okay, here's where your 4 key numbers become really important, guys. Remember your 4 key numbers?
I remember 2.
Madison?
2, 3, 5, and 7.
Awesome, 2, 3, 5, 7. If you don't have those down yet, write it down again. Because all you need to do is check both of them very quickly. Can I divide 41 and 100 by 2?
No.
By 3?
No.
By 5?
No.
By 7?
No.
You should literally get to the point, guys, where you're going through them that fast.
Yeah, I know.
And if you say no 4 times, that means you're in simplest form. So I rewrite this, put the whole number back in front of it, 4 and 41 100ths. What about 9?
Yeah.
Because if you can divide it by 9, you can also divide it by 3. So if you see that you can do it by 9, it just gets you there quicker. But if you do 3, you'll just do it twice. Okay? Any questions so far, guys? Okay, let's talk more about converting fractions to decimals. We covered this, but ironically, just looking at a quick glance through the test, this is probably going to be your most missed problem. Even though we did talk to you about it and showed you the perfect example of how to do it on your pre-test, or your practice test, sorry. Now, who remembers where the 1 goes? Yes, it was, Helen. Go ahead. Because he's the winner. Yes, I love it. The 2, he's the loser, so he gets left out in the rain. So, what's our steps? Number 1, the winner, or top, goes in the house. 2, the loser, or bottom, stays out in the rain. He does. Okay, once I have done that, will 2 go into 1? No. So I add a decimal and a 0. Don't forget that my decimal goes straight up into my answer on top, guys. How many times will 2 go into 10? 5. So once I've moved that decimal up, I kind of pretend like it doesn't exist. So I'm going to now check that as 10 instead of 1.0. Okay? So I'm done. So that means that 1/2 as a decimal is 5/10. Make sense? So let's do a few examples once again. So example 1, the winner, the top guy, goes in the house. The loser's left on the outside. Okay? Won't go into 0. Or 4 won't go into 1. My decimal comes straight up. It goes into 10 twice. Subtract 8 gives me a 2. I'm still not at 0, so add another 0 and bring it down. 4 goes into 25 times. Subtract 20. I'm at 0, so as a decimal, 1/4 is 25 hundredths. Now, if I have 1/8, which is actually almost identical to what you guys had on that test, the winner, 1 goes in the house, the loser's left out in the rain. My decimal comes straight up, it won't go into 1, goes into 10 once, leaves me a 2, still not at 0, so add another 0 and bring it down, goes twice. Subtract 16 gives me a 4, still not at 0, so bring another one. 5, subtract 40. There, I finally made it to 0, so 1/8 is 125 thousandths.
My brain can't keep up.
That's why I take a slight pause as we're going. I know we have multiple Xaviers out there that can't quite keep up.
Who's an Xavier up there?
No, me. I'm
Okay? Now, the next one brings in something we haven't really talked about yet.
Wait, I know what.
If we have a mixed number, it's kind of like when we had our decimal with the whole number on it. We just ignore the whole number piece. Okay? Now, for all of you out there who are thinking, but wait, my teacher told me turn it into an improper fraction before I do the division. You can do that. You've just given yourself 2 more opportunities to make math errors, and you've made the math even more difficult. Guys, the whole number piece is not going to change when you turn this into a decimal. All I need to do is focus on the fraction part. Okay? So 3/4. 3 going into the 4. It won't go into the 3, so I add a 0. It's going to go 7 times. 28 gives me a 2. Bring in another 0 gives me a 5. Now that I have the decimal piece of it, I'm going to put the whole number back in front of it. So that is 1 75/100. How do you do what? No, you weren't. You don't have anything written down, Christian. You weren't joking. Oh, please. Only because I was trying to go at Xavier speed.
Yeah, you're going so Xavier speed.
Guys, any questions on changing either the... Quiet down. Any questions about changing decimal to fraction or fraction to decimal? I hope not, because we're going to give you a chance to practice this. So, unfortunately, we're down to about 8 minutes. So, instead of 15, you've got 8. Go ahead and go. Finish as many of these as you can. Okay, so, I know you guys weren't able to finish everything because we didn't have that much time, but because this is going on the YouTube, I need to go ahead and get all the answers down so you guys can check them at home if you wanted to. The first one, the decimal form of the fraction 3/20. Again, the winner goes inside, the loser's on the outside. Please don't talk. Please don't talk, because I do have to go very quickly, meaning that you guys aren't going to have much time to be able to copy this down. So what does that equal? 1500. Second one, Drew's batting average is 275, which is flying fractions is equivalent. So the easy way to do this, say it, write it, simplify it. 275 thousandths. So write it, 275 thousandths. Simplify it. I can divide both those by 5. That's going to get me 55. Yep. 55 40ths. Or no, 55 200ths. I can divide by 5 again. Gets me 11 over 40, which would be answer A. Now, quick side note. If you saw you could do it by 25, you can do it in one step. But quite frankly, doing mental math, it's easier to do 5 twice than to try to think about what 25 would do. So sometimes, even though there are bigger numbers out there, use the easy ones. Okay, express each decimal as a fraction or mixed number in simplest form. So say it. 8/10, write it. 8/10, simplify it. Divide by 2, 4/5. Say it. 5400ths, write it. 5400ths, simplify it. I can divide those by 2, gets me 27/50ths. Say it. 1 875 thousandths, write it. I don't worry about the one piece. So 875 thousandths. Simplify, I can divide by 5. Is going to get me 175 over 200. So I can divide by 5, gets me 35 over 40. So I can divide by 5, gets me 7/8. Then I add the 1 back in front of it. Don't forget to put the whole number back if you had one in front of the decimal. Okay, express each fraction or mixed number as a decimal. 1/8. So winner goes in the house, loser's left on the outside. It's going to go once. Still not at 0, so bring down another one. It's going to go twice. Subtract 16 gives me a 4. Bring down another one, gives me a 5. So now I am at 0. So this one is 125 thousandths. 7/10. Winner goes in the house. Add my decimal. It's going to go 7 times. That's easy. That one actually, when I said it, you could have seen 7/10 goes straight to a decimal, 7/10. Last one, 1 and 3/8. Again, forget about the 1, just do the 3 and 8. So 3 to 8 is going to go 3 times. 24 gives me a 6. 60 is going to go 7 times. Gives me a 4. Wrong spot for the 0. Yeah, it's the same as any other homework problem. So now that I have it, 375 thousandths, I add the 1 back in front of it. 1 and 375 thousandths. Number 7. Student is having a school dance Friday or Saturday. Results of the vote are in the chart below. What decimal represents the fraction of 7th grade representatives that voted on a Saturday dance? So I'm only looking at the 7th grade out of this whole chart. Saturday, there were 3 of them that voted for it out of how many 7th graders voted? 5. So there's my fraction. So my decimal is 3 divided by 5, or 6/10. So the fraction is 6/10. Nope, you can watch the video. Okay, so that's it for you guys. I'll do the last 2 on the video. You guys can check it later if you want to. Your homework is the last page. Really no big surprises on the homework. It's basically just like what we just did. Just make sure that you show all of your work, guys. Okay, for those of you still at home, these last couple. Number 8, Hope can run the 100-meter dash in 14.18 seconds. Julie's best time is 16 and 7/10 seconds. How much faster is Hope than Julie in the 100-meter dash? So there's our big question, how much faster? So you have 2 options here because one was given as a fraction, one was given as a decimal. I can either turn the decimal to a fraction and then subtract the mixed numbers, or probably easier, turn the fraction into a decimal. So we'll do the 1/8, which we've actually already done a couple times today, so that should make it even easier. Subtract 8 gives me a 2. 20 gives me a 16. 5, and now we're at 0. So that becomes 14 and 125 thousandths. I'm going to subtract that from 16 and 7/10. If I don't have spots, I just add zeros above it. 7 becomes a 6, going down, so that's now 5, 7, 5. My decimal comes straight down, 2. So Hope is 2 and 575 thousandths seconds better. Bye, have a good day. Than Julie. And our last one, Caesar is making a scale drawing to represent a model of his house. The length of the model house measures 10 and 7/8 inches. What decimal will Caesar use in drawing if he converts the measurement of the length of the model into a decimal? So there's our question, what decimal will Caesar use? That should be a use, not us. So again, we'll focus on the 7/8 piece. 7 divided by 8. That's going to give us 8. Subtract 64. Gives us a 6. Still not at 0. So then do 7. 56 gives us a 4. Still not at 0. 40 gives us a 5. Subtract 40. There we hit it. Don't forget to put the whole number back in front of it. So it's 10 and 875 thousandths will be the decimal Caesar uses. Not really. It's actually pretty easy. And that should be it, guys. Hope we got the homework well. If you need any questions, feel free to ask us for seminar.